What an embarrassment. What an absolute embarrassment. Last night was further proof as to why people don't watch pretend basketball. Last night was further proof as to why people do not respect the WNBA.
What do you do when your own teammate gives up on you right in the middle of a game? What happens when the betrayal is so obvious, so brutal, that it's caught on live television for the entire world to see? I'm about to walk you through what might be the most devastating teammate betrayal in WNBA history, and the footage is nothing short of shocking. Angel Reese just went through an experience no professional athlete should ever endure, watching her own teammate, Kamilla Cardoso, physically distance herself from Reese on the bench, visibly refusing to even sit near her as the disaster unfolded. But trust me, that moment is just scratching the surface. By the time you finish hearing this story, you'll understand why the Chicago Sky might be on the verge of one of the worst franchise meltdowns the league has ever seen, and why Caitlin Clark is quietly winning while the Sky are crumbling. The footage is jaw-dropping, and the numbers behind this collapse are so historically bad they almost seem fake. This isn't just a bad start, it's a professional basketball catastrophe.
The Chicago Sky are already imploding from within. Fans are turning on the team. Kamilla Cardoso, oh no. Free Kamilla Cardoso. She is fed up with the Chicago Sky experiment. Tyler Marsh, once again, salute to you. You are doing the rest of the league.
The Chicago Sky just obliterated one of the worst records in WNBA history, and not in a good way. In their first 2 games of the season, they've been outscored by an absolutely staggering total of 60 points. To put that in perspective, that's the equivalent of losing by 30 points every single game. In the entire 27-year history of the WNBA, no team has ever started a season this disastrously. We're not just witnessing a slump, we're watching a franchise implode right in front of us. The numbers are so humiliating you almost question whether this is even a professional basketball team. The previous worst start to a season in WNBA history was a -40-point differential through 2 games. The Chicago Sky just shattered that low mark by a full 20 points. It's so bad that fans are already calling for the head coach to be fired, just 48 minutes into the season. When that happens, you know the foundation is completely crumbling.
Angel Reese had her worst professional basketball game, and I'm not even stretching that out. That's not me trying to be overly elaborate, trying to really make it sound awful. No, she was bad. 0 of 8 from the field, 12 rebounds, of which I believe 8 were offensive. It was a terrible, terrible showing.
Let's break down what a -60-point differential actually means in real terms. In the WNBA, most games are highly competitive and often come down to the final few possessions. But the Sky? They're getting absolutely annihilated, blown off the court by margins so huge it feels like they're playing a completely different sport. Against the New York Liberty, on their own home court, where they're supposed to have the advantage, they got demolished 99-74. And here's the part that's truly painful: New York set a WNBA regular season record that night, draining 19 three-pointers in a single game. It looked like they were playing NBA 2K on rookie mode, effortlessly hitting from deep, while Chicago couldn't buy a basket. The Sky shot a pitiful 36.2% from the field. It was pure basketball humiliation, the kind that makes fans physically cringe and leaves players staring at the scoreboard wondering how things spiraled so far out of control.
Let's start here. Worst plus minus in all of the WNBA is, in fact, you guessed it, Angel Reese. 9 out of the 14, bottom 14 are Chicago players. How is Angel running point guard going? 5 turnovers, 0 assists. I don't see Tyler Marsh winning the Coach of the Year.
What makes this collapse even harder to watch is that it wasn't supposed to happen. The Chicago Sky came into this season with legitimate playoff hopes and real championship dreams. During the offseason, they made a big move by trading for sharpshooter Ariel Atkins, adding her to a roster that already featured Angel Reese, who was expected to dominate the boards. On paper, this team looked like a potential contender. But instead of building a playoff-caliber squad, they've assembled an absolute disaster. The fan base is now in open revolt, demanding trades, calling for the coach's resignation, and questioning the entire direction of the franchise just 2 games into the season. The preseason optimism is already in ashes, and those bold playoff predictions now look painfully naive. The gap between what this team promised and what they've actually delivered is staggering, and it's only getting worse.
I thought Angel Reese was dedicating this season to winning. I thought she was focused on carrying the Chicago bravado to the promised land of golden toilets and bathrooms with running water. Hey y'all, it's me, Angel Reese. I'm dedicating this season to victory. I'm struggling to understand the end destination of this journey. I'm struggling to understand the winning that Angel Reese is talking about. Because 2 games into the season, the Chicago Bravado are losing by an average of 30 points. They're getting their ass kicked.
Now let's talk about just how historically awful Angel Reese's performance has been, because the numbers are almost hard to believe. Against the Liberty, she didn't score a single point from the field, going a brutal 0-for-8 on shot attempts. It wasn't just an off night, it was a complete offensive blackout. But here's the thing, this wasn't a one-game fluke. Across her first 2 games of the season, Reese is shooting a shocking 5-for-22 from the field, that's a miserable 22.7% shooting percentage. To be blunt, that would get you benched on most high school teams. These aren't difficult three-pointers or contested mid-range jumpers we're talking about. Most of these misses are layups, basic, close-range shots that any professional should convert with their eyes closed. Watching a player of Reese's stature consistently miss point-blank opportunities is almost surreal. It's the kind of collapse you don't expect to see at this level of the sport.
The Sky's minus 60 point diff is the worst through a team's first 2 games in WNBA history. It's real bad. And of course, last night we saw this, of course, is the stat patter extraordinaire. Of course, this was Angel Reese. She got blocked, I don't know how many times, by Jonquel Jones, who just wore her ass out. By the way, all them blocks, when she got the ball back, that's an offensive rebound. Certainly maybe the most embarrassing WNBA clip of all time. It's up there, unfortunately, for Angel Reese. There's many of those over time.
Here's where the numbers get even more brutal. Reese has attempted 17 shots from within 5 feet of the basket, basically, layup range where even league rookies are expected to excel. Out of those 17 attempts, she's made just 4. That's a horrifying 23.5% conversion rate on the easiest shots in the game. Think about that, she's missing 3 out of every 4 layups, standing directly under the hoop. Against the Liberty, fans in the arena and those watching at home saw her botch layup after layup, even after grabbing her own offensive rebounds and getting multiple chances on the same possession. The viral clip that exploded on social media showed her missing repeatedly right under the basket, sparking outrage and disbelief. One Twitter user summed it up perfectly: "Is this real life or a glitch on loop?" The video fueled accusations that she was stat padding, focusing more on grabbing rebounds to pad her numbers than actually finishing the play.
Angel Reese last night against the New York Liberty, one of the worst games she's played as a professional, takes that out on the referee.
And it's not just the missed shots, it's the turnovers that are making this situation even worse. Angel Reese currently leads the entire WNBA in turnovers, with 10 giveaways in just 2 games. That's an astonishing number, meaning that nearly every time she touches the ball, there's a very real chance she's going to hand it directly to the other team. And these aren't aggressive, high-risk turnovers either. We're talking about basic mistakes, lazy passes straight to defenders, dribbling the ball off her own foot, and careless ball handling that's gift-wrapping fast break opportunities for opponents. When your franchise player can't protect the ball or make basic offensive decisions, your entire offensive system collapses. Reese's teammates are standing there, watching possessions evaporate because their so-called leader can't execute fundamental skills. It's not just a slump, it's a full-on breakdown.
Starting to understand why I make fun of this league? Are you starting to understand why the WNBA struggles to draw an audience based on the product on the court? There are missed shots, bad plays, but in the NBA, missed layups are the exception, not the norm. Last night, Angel Reese played 27 minutes. Angel Reese had 12 rebounds, with 8 coming on the offensive end. 8 offensive rebounds. Angel Reese went 0 for 8 from the field and scored 2 points. 2 points in 27 minutes.
But here's where the story takes a shocking, almost surreal turn. The live broadcast cameras caught everything, and what they revealed about the team's chemistry was genuinely heartbreaking. Every time Angel Reese missed another shot, Kamilla Cardoso, her own teammate, was visibly distancing herself on the bench. This wasn't a subtle gesture. Cardoso was deliberately moving away from Reese, physically creating space between herself and her struggling teammate in front of a national audience. The cameras caught every painful second of this as it unfolded. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't something you needed to rewind to notice. It was obvious, blatant, and impossible to ignore. The visual message was loud and clear. Even Angel Reese's own teammates have reached their breaking point. When you lose your team, when the people who are supposed to back you walk away from you in plain sight, that's when you know the collapse isn't just on the scoreboard. It's inside the locker room. It's in the very core of the franchise.
This is all part of the myth that I'm supposed to believe that Angel Reese is some great player, that she's the rival of Caitlin Clark, and that Indiana Fever fans taunted her with racial taunts, and people are actually believing it, buying it, and selling it. It's all a myth and a lie, and you have to be a part of some religious cult to actually believe that Angel Reese is some sort of effective, big-time basketball superstar.
Kamilla Cardoso's reaction during the third quarter was one of the clearest, most brutal signals of just how fractured this Chicago Sky team has become. After Angel Reese missed her third straight shot in a row, the cameras caught Cardoso's shoulders visibly slumping in defeat, her body language screaming frustration and disappointment. But it didn't stop there. Cardoso, who had been sitting tightly with the rest of the team just minutes earlier, deliberately shifted her entire posture on the bench, physically separating herself from her teammates. This wasn't some subtle emotional reaction, this was an unmistakable visual message. For a player like Cardoso, known across the league for her professionalism, poise, and emotional control in high-pressure games, this kind of open display of disgust and frustration is telling. It shows just how toxic and broken things have become in Chicago. When someone as composed as Cardoso can't even pretend to hide her disappointment on national television, you know the situation isn't just bad, it's spiraling beyond repair.
That gap isn't just concerning. It's historically bad for a player with her expectations and role on the team.
The bench. Cardoso with the miss. Angel Reese picks it up, what she's good at. Getting another offensive rebound. She says, give me that. How about another? Persistence trying to pay off. Jones gets a piece. Angel Reese won't give up. Jones with another.
What makes Cardoso's visible frustration even more alarming is that she's not the type of player to wear her emotions on her sleeve. Throughout her entire career, she's built a reputation as someone who stays calm, focused, and professional regardless of the chaos unfolding on the court. She's the kind of teammate you rely on to set the tone, to keep everyone grounded when things go wrong. So when someone like Cardoso reaches a breaking point so severe that she physically distances herself from her own squad, right there in front of millions of fans watching live, it speaks volumes about how deeply these issues have cut into the fabric of the team. Her reaction wasn't a fleeting moment, it was so obvious, so public, that fans at home immediately noticed. It wasn't something you had to replay to catch, it was impossible to miss. Cardoso's disgust and disappointment radiated from the bench like a siren, warning everyone that this team might already be too far gone.
Angel Reese can rebound and has an attitude and has trolled Caitlin Clark into some sort of relevance. There's this racial protection of Angel Reese. Somehow she's important, and somehow anything that bad happens to her, because I'm sure what we're going to hear is like, well, she's struggling offensively because of all the stress she's dealing with. She's created this stress by trolling Caitlin Clark and by trying to pick fights with Caitlin Clark and by jumping up and getting in Caitlin Clark's face, and is going to end in embarrassing fashion.
Veteran point guard Courtney Vandersloot didn't bother sugarcoating anything when she faced the media after this humiliating defeat. She delivered one of the most brutally honest assessments of the team's performance, cutting straight to the heart of the problem. She called out the team's sloppy play with no hesitation, saying bluntly, a lot of them are just dumb plays. Offensively, we haven't found a groove yet, we're out of rhythm, and it will come with time, but we have to work on our chemistry offensively. But that wasn't even the most damning part. She went on to admit that the team couldn't even figure out the most basic elements of basketball, saying, "We're trying to figure out spacing, we haven't figured out how to position our post players so it actually benefits us." When your most experienced leader is publicly labeling your offense as disorganized and flat-out dumb while openly admitting your team can't master spacing, a concept that most high school teams fully understand, you're dealing with a locker room in total disarray.
The person who should be throwing temper tantrums on the Chicago Sky, that person should be this woman right here. That person should be Kamilla Cardoso. Look at the frustration oozing out of Kamilla Cardoso. She gets a switch, Natasha Cloud, she's posting her up. We can't get an entry pass to Kamilla Cardoso.
These weren't the words of a confident team that believes in its system or trusts each other to pull through. When your veteran leader is calling your offense dumb and publicly acknowledging that your team can't execute fundamental strategies like spacing and proper positioning, what you're seeing is a franchise in the middle of an emotional and strategic collapse. The frustration is no longer hidden, it's now part of the team's identity. Instead of pulling together and finding solutions, the Sky are pulling apart, creating a toxic atmosphere where players are clashing and working against each other rather than toward a common goal. Strong WNBA teams rally around struggling players, they find ways to create easier scoring chances, and they build positive momentum even during tough stretches. Chicago is doing the exact opposite. Their body language tells the entire story. This is a group that has already given up on each other just 2 games into what was supposed to be a championship contending season.
Him and Lexi Hull are the real deal. That's what it does look like. It looks like these two off the bench, you can name whoever you want. These two ladies off the bench are going to be the most impactful duo in the WNBA, hands down. Hands down, these two are going to be the most impactful duo in the WNBA off the bench. They bring the energy, they bring the heat, they're able to score, they play defense.
While the Chicago Sky are falling apart in front of the entire country, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever are quietly showing the league what real professionalism and team unity actually look like. After suffering a tough loss to the Atlanta Dream earlier in the week, the Fever didn't implode. They didn't blame each other. They didn't separate on the bench. Instead, they regrouped like professionals and stormed back with a dominant win in their rematch. This wasn't just a bounce-back game, it was a statement. The Fever showed what happens when a team stands together, supports its star, and pushes through adversity. During timeouts in between plays, you could visibly see players like Lexi Hull, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell rallying around Clark, building her up, creating space for her to thrive, and making sure she had every chance to succeed. This is what championship culture looks like.
I'm Kamilla Cardoso. I am upset with how this offense is looking. If I'm Kamilla Cardoso, I'm upset that I still can't manage to get an entry pass. If I'm Kamilla Cardoso, I'm upset that I still need to deal with this type of amateurism in the WNBA. The Angel Reese shoot, miss, shoot, miss, shoot, miss, shoot, miss, shoot, miss experiment. Okay, this is where Kamilla Cardoso, look, pass it out. Look at Kamilla Cardoso on the bottom of your screen here. Pass it out, kick it out. Let me shoot a midi. How many attempts do we need at the same shot? Over and over and over and over again. Turning your back to your team, walking away from the active plays going on, walking away from the actual basketball action. Yeah, Kamilla Cardoso is not a happy camper over there in Chicago, and I don't blame her. Again, this is another year of the same nonsense.
The performance gap between these two so-called franchise players tells you everything you need to know about who really belongs at the top of this league. Even on what some call a quiet night by her own lofty standards, Caitlin Clark still posted an impressive 11 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds while smoothly running Indiana's offense from start to finish. Compare that to Angel Reese's disastrous 0-4-8 outing, where she couldn't make a single shot and looked completely lost on the floor. Clark's impact goes far beyond her personal stats. She's creating open looks for her teammates, making smart plays, and raising the performance level of everyone around her. Meanwhile, Reese's offensive collapse is dragging her entire team down and poisoning the atmosphere on the bench. The contrast between Clark's uplifting leadership and Reese's spiraling performance couldn't be more stark.
Reports came out that Kamilla Cardoso was sold on the Tyler Marsh signing. Rumor came out that Kamilla Cardoso wasn't excited, wasn't too pleased with how Teresa Weatherspoon was using her last year. So when she heard Tyler Marsh, when she got a sniff of Tyler Marsh possibly coming on board, they talked, laid out the game plan. Kamilla Cardoso was bought in. Kamilla Cardoso was drinking the Kool-Aid, eating what Tyler Marsh was feeding her. But again, sold a fake bill of goods.
When you step back and look at the two franchises, the differences in team culture and system design are absolutely glaring. Indiana's coaching staff has built a seamless offensive structure that prioritizes spacing, driving lanes, and ball movement. Every player on the Fever knows their role and executes it within the team's system. That's why their offense looks fluid, sharp, and dangerous. Chicago, on the other hand, looks like 5 players bumping into each other, completely disjointed, lost, and stepping on each other's toes. There's no flow, no structure, no chemistry. Social media has been flooded with praise for Clark's resilience, leadership, and ability to bounce back from adversity, while Sky fans are already demanding trades, firing the coach, and blowing up the roster after just 2 games. Indiana's momentum is building, their confidence is growing, and their chemistry is thriving. Chicago's season is already in crisis mode.
The Bravado don't need skilled players throughout their roster. They have Angel Reese. According to the media, Angel Reese is the equivalent of Caitlin Clark. Prepare yourself to be mesmerized at the elite athleticism of Angel Reese.
Her visibly giving up on her team here. Look at this. Look at this. Kamilla Cardoso literally walking towards the New York Liberty bench. Walking towards the New York Liberty bench, like, hey, Brianna, Sabrina, scoot over a little bit. Let me take a seat. Hey, Sandy, is there any room on the bench for me? Can you guys use an extra player? Can I switch jerseys and see how I fit on this team?
When your own teammates can't even stand to watch you play basketball anymore, that's when you need to seriously reevaluate where your game is and where your career is heading. Kamilla Cardoso's visible frustration on national television said it all. Angel Reese's teammates have lost faith in her. You simply cannot miss 8 consecutive shots at the professional level and expect your teammates to stay in your corner, believing in you. The Fever are building something special, a team that lifts each other up, that rallies behind their star, that creates a winning environment. Meanwhile, Reese is sitting on the bench, watching her own teammates physically move away from her, creating visible distance in a moment of collective frustration. 2025 is shaping up to be Caitlin Clark's year, but if the Chicago Sky don't fix these massive problems immediately, this season could very well be the last dance for this current roster. Their window is closing faster than anyone expected.